What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make mouth-watering beef jerky on a pellet grill using eye of round roast. This is an easy, beginner-friendly recipe that anybody could follow at home to make tender and flavorful homemade jerky. We'll be using a simple marinade that's made of brown sugar, soy sauce, Worcestershire, and a little bit of spices to make the perfect blend of sweetness and spice. First thing that we need to do is we need to get our eye of round trimmed up. Whenever you're making beef jerky, you want to make sure that you use a really lean cut of meat. And the eye of the round is one of the cuts that I prefer to use. I just like the shape of it, how it makes jerky. But typically when you buy it, there'll be a tiny little fat cap on there. And I just like to take my knife and very carefully come across that bottom and remove some of that fat. The whole goal of beef jerky is to dry out the meat. Any fat that you have on your meat can give it a kind of a nasty, weird flavor when you're in there because you're not actually cooking the meat, so it's not gonna be rendered out at all. All you're doing is actually just drying the meat out. And in today's recipe, we're not going to be using any sort of curing agents in here, so this will not be shelf stable. So you want to make sure that if you make this recipe, put it in your fridge, or if it makes it to the fridge, which if you're in my house it doesn't, because I typically will just eat it all. I don't get too crazy with this process. I just like to remove as much of the meat, or not meat, the fat that I can. So let's take a look here. I think I'm just gonna cut off this little section right here. We'll call this good. I took off a nice little bit, but I'm not gonna be so perfectionist that I get off every little nook and cranny of this fat. I just want to get most of it off. The second thing that I want to note is the grain. Whenever you're slicing, you want to make sure that you go against the grain. And for the eye of the round, the grain runs down the meat. So when we cut it, you always want to cut perpendicular to that grain. That's going to give you the best bite. So in our instance, it's going to be this way. I actually froze this for about 30 to 45 minutes before I brought it out for slicing. The colder that this meat is, the easier it's going to be to slice. Now when we make these slices, we want to make them about a 1/4 inch thick all the way down. You don't want it to be too thick, and hold on one second. And this looks about perfect to me. I don't know if you guys could see in this camera angle, but this is about a 1/4 inch thick. Now the purpose of this is we're not actually cooking it. We're gonna be smoking this at an extremely low temperature. We're just gonna be drying out the meat. So if you make this too thick, it's not gonna get dried out properly. So I'll sit here and I'll show you guys a few more of these slices, and then I'll get the rest off camera. And then you gotta remember too that this takes up a lot of room in your smoker. So if you end up cutting this way too thin, then you might not have any room in your smoker. And I got this eye round at Costco. They normally sell them anywhere in like 4 to 5 pound quantities. I'm actually smoking about 4 pounds a day. So the marinade recipe that I'm using is good for about 5 to 6 pounds. Use the recipe I have, or if you go to Walmart and buy a 2-pounder, just cut it in half. Now I want to show you guys something. This is a little bit too thick for my liking. The good thing is, if you cut it too thick, you could just smash it down. If you end up slicing it too thin, well, you're just out of luck at that point. So I'm gonna cut the rest of this off camera, and I'll see you guys at the marinade. For today's ingredients, we are gonna be using, looks like this is the Worcestershire sauce, and we're gonna be adding in 1 cup, and then we're also gonna be doing 1 cup of soy sauce. Soy sauce has a ton of sodium. It's gonna make our beef nice and salty. And then here we have a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. I'm gonna be careful how I dump this out into there. We're just gonna take our whisk. We just kind of want to stir that in there. That brown sugar will dissolve. I'm just gonna take my poor little baby whisk. Do you guys see this? This is embarrassing. I have 1 tablespoon of some red pepper flakes. Then I have 1 tablespoon of some garlic powder. Obviously those red pepper flakes are gonna give us a nice little spicy bite. That garlic powder is gonna help, I think, be like a nice balanced blend between all these great salty, sweet, spicy flavors. Now it's time to add in our little beef jerky slices, and I'm just gonna one by one kind of lay these in here and give them a nice little rub, swish it around. I like to do this just in case throughout some part of the night, these all get sticked and bunched up together. At least they got one good little kiss of the marinade. Make sure this marinade kisses the meat real good. I wish you guys could smell this. You guys could smell this if you just make this at home yourself. But this should be enough for about a good 5 pounds. Now you want to make sure these are fully submerged as you can, if possible. I kind of have a weird little container to put these in, because you know we were baking cookies tonight at our house and all of our big mixing bowls are in our dishwasher. Now the question is, how long for this marinade? And I would say probably at a minimum 12 hours, which is about what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be smoking this tomorrow, making this at night. If you could let it go for a full 24 hours, you know, I would definitely recommend that you do that. I don't really think you need to go any longer than that. I don't know what would happen if you went longer than that. All right, so now we got our beef jerky in there. I am just going to get kind of monstrous with this meat. I wanna make sure that all this gets really good flavor. And then I'm gonna get this sealed up. I'm gonna put it in my fridge overnight, right around that 12-hour mark, and I'll see you guys in a new day. Welcome to the next day. It is 12 hours later. Our beef jerky has been marinating this whole time overnight. I got some good sleep. Hopefully you guys do too. The whole point of making beef jerky is dehydrating the meat. You're taking all of the moisture out, and we just put a ton of moisture on there. So I like to start, I'm just gonna get some paper towels. I'm gonna lay them down right here. I'm gonna take our meat. And I have some people in my house that aren't a huge fan of spicy, so I just like to shake off some of those pepper flakes. And I'm just gonna press the meat down into our paper towel. Just press it down. And again, I'll show you guys kind of how I do this with just one little batch, and then I'll do the rest off the camera. So here we got our pieces. And guys, this smells incredible. I wish you could smell what I smell right now. This is gonna make some incredible beef jerky. All right, so now that we got these on here, I'm just gonna take another couple sheets and I'm gonna lay it on top, and I wanna press. And we're just gonna press down on this meat. The whole goal, all the moisture we want off. All right, so it looks probably about as good as we can get it. So the next thing that I like to do is I like to put these on a wire rack, which I have right here. It just kind of elevates it off so that way it's not sitting on wet paper towels. And I don't care if these are touching, we gotta cram these on. The whole purpose of this, I want my meat just to be off the ground so that way it can drip. And I do this before I get my smoker started. That way it just has, you know, about a good 15, 20, 30 minutes until my smoker's ready to get it on. Just has a little bit of extra time to kind of dry out. You know, maybe let some of that air hit it. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up this process with the rest of the beef jerky that I have here, and then I'll see you guys at my smoker. I'll be turning the power on, and we're gonna be setting the super smoke mode. See, it says extreme smoke, low. Right now my smoker is only 40 degrees, so we're gonna wait till it's at 180 before we get our jerky on. Our smoker is now up to 180 degrees, which is where mine smokes it on the extreme smoke mode. If you can get it to go lower, I recommend doing that. 150, 160, that's a perfect place to do it if you're doing it in your oven at home. Let's go ahead and open this up. And we wanna move very quickly here. When I take these racks like this and just kind of flip it, and then from there, you can just kind of move your pieces around. Now when you do this, I recommend staying far away from the edges, like right around here, because this is where all your heat is gonna come up at. So let's go ahead and get these laid out best we can. And then after this, I'm just gonna shut it down for about a good 2 hours. We're just gonna let it smoke and do its thing. You don't really need to check it too much. At the 2 hour mark, I'm gonna come out and give it a nice little flip. And this is a little bit tight on here as far as space goes. You wanna make sure that you leave room between, so that way the smoke can hit it. This looks pretty good right here. They're spaced out, they're not hanging over the edge. Get this shut down, and I'll see you guys at the 2 hour mark. We are now at the 2 hour mark on this smoked beef jerky, and at this point, I'm gonna open this up really, really quick because I don't want to let a lot of this smoke and this heat out. I don't want my temperature to drop down too low, because then pellet grills try really aggressively to get that temperature back up, and it'll make the temperatures go too high. Just a little fun fact if you didn't know that. Some of the pieces that are on the outside left, the outside right, the back, and the front, they're closest to where the heat is coming up. I'm gonna try to move them. These are looking literally beautiful though. This is exactly how I would hope that they would look. Gosh, this is gonna be so, so good. All right, I'm not even too concerned about some of these outsiders. It's looking pretty sweet. I'm gonna try and move them closer together, away from these edges. And I think we're just gonna call this good. I'm gonna shut it down. We're gonna go another 2 hours. We are now at the 4-hour mark. Let's go ahead and open up the smoker and take a look at some of this beef jerky. We are getting really, really close, I could tell, but it's still a little bit bendy. I like my beef jerky to be done when you bend it and it kind of snaps. I do see some of those white strands in there, but I can tell just by how it's bending. See how I can almost roll the entire thing? I want to get it to where it could snap. So I'm gonna go ahead and shut this down, and I'll come back out when it's done. So I'm not gonna come back out in periods anymore. I'll just wait till it's done. I'll come back out, show you guys what it's supposed to look like, and I'll let you know what timestamp we're at that point. But before we go, my son wanted to say hi. You guys wanna say hi? All right, he said hi. We are now 6 hours into our smoke of this amazing beef jerky, and it is finally done. We have achieved the color that we want. I'm gonna shut this down. I'm gonna show you guys what you wanna see. We have a nice snap straight through. You could tear it right apart, and you see those little white strands in there. That is how I could tell that it is done. I'm gonna break this by my mic for you guys. Hear that nice little snap. That means that it's dehydrated, all that moisture's out. I'm gonna take a little bite right here. I'm gonna do things differently than I normally do. I'm gonna give it a little bite right now. Wow. This beef jerky is full of some of the most incredible flavors. You really taste the sweetness of that brown sugar. It has a nice little saltiness. You can feel it on your tongue after you're done taking your bite. It's in your mouth. This tastes really good. It's honestly some of the best homemade beef jerky I've had. I love this recipe. I'll make sure that I leave the instructions and ingredients down in the description below. If you guys want to help support me as a creator making these videos, I made one of these sweet mugs. You can go down in the description below and make sure I have a link. When you buy one of these, if you're a coffee or tea drinker, it helps me out to be able to make more videos more consistently and more frequently. You can always subscribe, like this video, share it with your friends. You can make this recipe and share the recipe with your friends. Make some great beef jerky. Everybody will love you. Well guys, before I leave, I'm gonna go ahead and take one more of these off of here. Yes, love this. Hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you in my next video.